One of the things that I feel kind of guilty about is passing myself off as some sort of electronic uh, repair guy, as though I really know what I'm doing. Because friends, I really don't. Suffice it to say, everything that I've learned from you on YouTube. And I think the other element of it is having the courage to open up, you know, electronic equipment like turntables or receivers, speakers, you know, whatever. And just sort of having the courage to sort of dig in there and think to yourself, well, if I destroy it, I guess that's the way it goes. But I mean, you got to be meticulous when you do that sort of thing, right? And the more you do it, the more you learn. And yeah, you know, I would encourage you to give it a try. I don't know. I mean, even as a kid, lots of people liked disassembling toys and stuff like that to find out how they worked and so forth. Well, it's not too much different. It's just you have to be careful and you have to be able to put things back together again. So, you know, as I say, I am not an electrician. I've never taken, like even in high school, I never took any class or anything like that for electronics. I know very, very little about it, or at least I did know very little about it. But now I say things on videos like, you know, oh, I'm going to clean up this turntable, or I'm going to get this receiver working again, or what have you. And I've got a variety of things to do that, but these are my basic tools for doing that. And this is all you might need as well. I want to show this to you first because this is important. This is dust remover, so it's a compressed gas. It's just it's mostly, I guess, air or what have you. But avoid this. Don't use this. This is why I have it here, because I wanted to point this out to you. Don't make the mistake of getting this and spraying the inside of your receiver. That would be very bad. So I'm going to take this off the shelf right away, and you're not going to see it again. Use this for keyboards, or I don't know, there's a camera on there. Use it for what it's intended. Do not use this on your retro stereo equipment, or I would say any stereo equipment. So that goes away. As for the rest of it, though, pretty straightforward stuff. A rag, obviously, is very helpful. You also need brushes. This one's a little stiffer. It's just a toothbrush, obviously. And then this one is not so much. When I'm getting dust off of the interior of circuitry and stuff like that, I tend to just sort of like brush at the dust. Now the thing is, unless you have some way of getting the dust that has lifted off out of the air, so you could use a fan, or I actually hold a vacuum cleaner, but unless you get the particulate that you've lifted off with the brushes, it's just going to settle back down. And obviously the rule of thumb when you're opening, you know, when you're looking at any circuitry or anything like that, be very, very careful, right? Don't scrub anything like you would your teeth or something. I think that's actually bicycle grease. I haven't used this on a receiver or anything, but I just want to show you a toothbrush is handy and another brush is handy. In fact, even if you get 2 or 3 paintbrushes, you can get them at the dollar store for like $5 for $1 or something. So you want something like that. Also, Q-tips are good and very handy to have, in particular when you use this stuff. This stuff is great. This is sort of, it's not exactly a lubricant, but what it does is it works really well on plastic. Now this little can in Canada, it's not cheap. It's like $20 or $21 or something like that. But I have a feeling this is going to last me a long time. This is de-oxit, and you just spray it into the potentiometers and, you know, other switches and stuff like that, and then you work them. Okay, you squirt and you work it, and you sort of break up whatever in there is sort of like making things stick. So if you have, say, a volume control on a receiver and all you hear is crackling every time you turn it on, or excuse me, every time you turn it up or turn it down, and it just like, you know the thing. It could be the pot. It might need to be replaced, but if it's not, chances are you're going to get at it with some de-oxit. So you just squirt it right on in there, and then you use a cloth and your Q-tips to sort of clean up the excess that comes dripping out of the mechanisms, and you know, do that 2 or 3 times. And if you still have that that crackling sound, then it's probably the pot. But otherwise, the de-oxit should take care of it. That's really got to be in your toolkit if you're going to look at cleaning up stereo equipment. I keep this as well. This is just an awl, I guess. It can be handy for touching things and scraping little hard to get bits in there that brushes can't. But be very, very careful if you're going to use that. Obviously, a set of little finger screwdrivers, in particular the Phillips. You're going to need a Phillips You can use a normal screwdriver if you want, but I do on cases and stuff like that. But you definitely need a little Phillips, and then the rest, these are just mostly, oh, there's a smaller Phillips there. But you're going to need a kit like this, and they are not expensive. I don't know how much they are, maybe $5 or something like that. And then finally, in terms of the aesthetic, this is one of those Mr. Clean magic erasers. And I have a lot of these. I keep these on hand. They work for so much. If you've never cleaned your stylus with a Mr. Clean eraser, there's all your questions answered right there. Get one of these for $2, like a pack of 3 for $2, and you'll be cleaning your stylus like a champ for ages to come. But this stuff works really, really well on cases and old drastic plastic things where there's some marking and you don't know what the marking is about. So I've cleaned up like knobs and dials and stuff and just brought them back to practically like so shiny. They look kind of brown, and then you use this and then they come back and honestly, I had a receiver, a JVC receiver that I think I might have a video of it. I'm not sure, but this just cleans it up like sparkling new. Like honestly, you have to get that. So this is my toolkit. Basically, I've got a bit more to it, but these are the things you really, really need to have if you want to clean up your receiver, your turntable, or some other piece of electronic equipment. The only other thing I'm going to say sort of in general is when you've got the case open, obviously it's unplugged, first of all, and second of all, don't touch the capacitors, especially the big ones. I mean, the little ones might still be holding onto a charge as well, but that's the job of the capacitor, right? Is to store energy. So after you've unplugged it, I mean, if you're just listening to something an hour before, like a receiver, and you pop the back off and you touch the capacitor, you might be in for a bit of a surprise. So do not touch the capacitors, or at least give yourself like a couple of days or something like that before you even think you're going to. I know I've brushed capacitors off before, but you want to be very careful and you want to treat them with some caution. All right, Not Wilson. See you guys again.